A little extra there. Good morning, everyone. Welcome home. Welcome home. There is in this place the possibility of healing, of repair, of making things right within ourselves, between us, and the wider world. We gather around this light of hope as we share this time together. Amen, Ashe, and may it be so.
Welcome
Welcome
to
to
welcome to
welcome to
Wedgwood
Wedgwood
this
this morning.
morning. We are thrilled that you have chosen to join us live or later in the day or later in the week. We are excited this morning about a message. We talk so much about helping those in need, helping those who are not of privilege, and we sometimes forget how difficult it is for some groups of people to find a voice at the table, to be accepted at the table. So that's what we want to talk about this morning with Nazim Uddin, and we're so glad that you are here joining us this morning. Our prelude is, we'll build a land. May it be so. May we build that land. And Liz has some announcements for us.
Good morning, everyone. Next Sunday, August 4th, James Talarico, who is a Texas state representative, will be speaking on Jesus and Christian nationalism. And then Sunday, August 11th, we will have Children's Sunday.
I just want to add, we want your children to participate. Amanda Thompson, who is president of the Mecklenburg Association of Educators, will be speaking about our schools, the good, the bad, the ugly, and what we can do to help. And we want your children, your nieces, your nephews, your young children, your college students, grandchildren, friends to participate. So please reach out and I can give them something to do in the service, or they can sing or dance or read a poem they've written or whatever they want to do. So think about the children in your family and your life, and let's get them to join us on that Sunday.
Thank you, Melba. Well, and as we were discussing during our coughing conversation time, and as we, try to show every day, social justice is the core of who we are at Wedgwood. And we believe that to be a social justice interfaith church, that requires actions, whether we're doing actions or supporting the actions of others. And so we've done a number of actions. We will continue to do so, but we have a few community partner actions we're going to share with you. Well, actually, this is one that we started doing earlier this summer at our film festival, and we're going to continue doing it for the remainder of the summer. We're raising funds for the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. We have this fundraiser that's been going on, and we've been able to raise a pretty substantial amount, but we encourage folks to continue helping us raise funds for them. They do such important work, and as we unfortunately know, it has not really gotten any better over there, and so there is no part too small to play in helping right some of the injustices that are happening. And one way you can do that is by supporting this fundraiser. And in a few weeks, we will have Charlotte Pride. Wedgwood's walking in the parade this year. You don't have to be a member of Wedgwood, but if you just want to join and show support for Wedgwood, or if you stand in solidarity with some of the causes we support, as a friend of Wedgwood, we encourage you to walk as well. It's free. It's going to be fun. Wedgwood is pretty early in the lineup, so you won't be waiting around a whole lot. Y'all have an in with a certain person that works there. And she made sure that we weren't going to be at the tail end of the parade. We're actually in a good spot, so there's not a whole lot of sitting around and waiting around in the station area. So join us. It'll be a really great day. And some community events. Charlotte Pride will be hosting their interfaith service on a Sunday, August 11th at 4 p.m. that kicks off Pride Week. That'll be at Sacred Souls Community Church. More information can be found in our newsletter. And then on Saturday, September 28th at 10 a.m., there's a Stop the Hate March, I believe, in DC. More information to come. I think we have information about that in our newsletter as well. And membership. We know a lot of folks join us from all over, but good news, you don't have to live in Charlotte to be a member of Wedgwood because we meet virtually every Sunday. And we encourage folks who have joined us a few times to consider joining, because Wedgwood is in a very exciting time in the history of our church. We have a lot of exciting things happening. We are really thinking about who we are in the world that we live in. And we want you to not only have a seat at the table, but have a say at the table. But in order to do that, you do have to become a member. But to become a member, it's not a long, drawn out process. We don't make you take a class. It's just a simple form so we can collect your information. And all you say is, yes, I want to join Wedgwood. So please consider joining us today. And connect with us. We are on social media. We have an Instagram, Facebook page, and a Facebook group. We have a website that we keep updated, a newsletter. You can also email us or call us. And connect with staff. We are here to help. Wedgwood has 4 part-time staff. Melba is our ministerial coordinator. I'm the community outreach coordinator. Ashanti's a music coordinator, and Ryan is our technology coordinator. So we do many, many things. And we like to say that we are small, but we are mighty. And one other way to support us, aside from showing up and supporting the events that we put on and the advocacy that we do, is by supporting us financially. We are very small, and we can't do that without your support. So if you feel so moved, we appreciate anything you can give.
Thank you, Liz. A lot of exciting things coming up, and stay tuned because there'll be more exciting things in the fall as summer settles down later in August. And now
Yeah.
Liz will lead us in our extravagant welcome.
Thank you. We are all welcome here. Welcome to a church that works for peace, justice, equality, and care of Mother Earth.
We are all welcome here.
Here. An extravagant welcome to you because of your gender identification, sexual orientation, ethnicity, economic situation, physical and mental challenges, doubting or believing, being depressed or full of joy.
We are all welcome here.
We are a community of curious and creative spiritual seekers striving to learn from and embody the way of servant leadership. We
are
all
all
welcome
welcome here.
here. We focus on the plundered and the marginalized as we try to address the major issues of our day.
We
We
are
are
all welcome
Welcome
here.
here.
One of the ways we seek to heal the world and ourselves is through sharing parts of our personal story. We
are
are
all
welcome
Welcome
here.
here.
And we are all welcome here, regardless of your beliefs or unbeliefs. We come together because we believe that there are certain things that we all believe in. Love thy neighbor, care of the earth. So regardless of your belief system, you are definitely welcome at Wedgwood. And we come to a time of celebrations and concerns.
As I mentioned earlier, my grandson turned 8 years old today. We've been here for 8 years. I'm here in Charlotte from Boston, Massachusetts. My granddaughter was able to come down and fly down by herself for the first time, which was nerve-wracking for me, but she had a ball. But it was great to have all the kids together. They're so tall. They're tall as me, taller than me. So it was great to have them all together and see them have a good time.
That's a celebration.
It is a
Definitely.
celebration to be here to witness them, because my mom wasn't able to do that. So I'm glad that I'm here for them.
I am too.
Yeah.
And what a great role model you are for them.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
a great grandma.
Thank you. And as I said earlier, I'm concerned about this political situation here that we have in the United States, and it's very worrisome.
It is.
I'm going to do all that I can do to do my part in this situation.
And I'll share with you, while I was in Canada for the last month, everywhere I went, when it was known that I was an American, it's really on their hearts in Canada. They are very worried, very concerned, and they don't understand how this is happening.
Happening.
And I don't have any answers because I don't understand all of it either, but all I could do was assure them I am not part of that.
Yeah.
And, because they are very worried because we're on their border.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they see the fascism, they see the hate, they don't understand it because it's such a different atmosphere and
Yeah.
culture there. But I want you to also remember Larry, who had a ruptured appendix a couple nights ago,
Yeah.
went into surgery and has had one thing after another since. His heart rate was way high. His O2 dropped way low, and they got that settled down. And then it was his kidneys, and they've kind of gotten that settled down. And then last night we thought he was moving forward, and he had a setback with bowels not working and began throwing up bile. So I guess it's just going to be one thing after another till we get everything back in sync, because as the doctor explained, when an appendix erupts, it affects everything in the body. So he's got a tube through his nose now. I'm not quite understanding all of that, but it's called an NG tube, and I understand there's no side effects to it, and it's to relieve that situation in the abdomen. So please keep remembering him. He's still in ICU, and I think he'll be there for a few more days.
And how are you holding up, Melba?
Tired.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
Tired because I got back and I had the jet lag and everything, and I got back at 9, and by 6 I had him at the ER. So I came home and went straight to bed. But it's hard sleeping. I find it harder eating. I just don't have an appetite. But I'm hanging in there. I'm doing my best to take care of myself too. I know I have to. And think about Chester too. I have one very depressed cat here.
I did think about Chester.
He is just dragging and I put him on the phone. Y'all think I'm crazy, but I put him on the phone with Larry last night. And Larry was so happy to see him, and Larry tried to talk to him a little bit, but he's moping around. He wants to know where his daddy is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm loving on him all I can, but he is a daddy's cat. So think about Chester too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that Biden's decision to stand down is worthy of celebration. Better
Yes.
late than never.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I have a celebration. So last week I unfortunately missed the service because the night before, we had that massive storm that
Yes.
rolled through Charlotte, and I heard about 9:15. I heard a crash outside my house. I was minding my business inside my house, but my car is parked out front. Because I have a very, very small front yard and very small driveway, and so it's parked. I park it in the yard as like a secondary drive, and I heard this big, huge crash about 9:15, and we think lightning struck the tree outside in my front yard. And I stepped outside, and my car was totaled by a giant tree limb that took up the length of my entire front yard.
Mm.
So I was very stressed out. So that was definitely a concern that day.
Yes.
But silver lining is that I had paid off the car in February in full. So when the insurance adjuster came, they wrote me a nice big fat check, and I took that check to the car dealership and bought a new car. So a concern has turned into a celebration, but it was definitely stressful and
Yes.
dramatic.
And thankfully
video
you
was
weren't hit inside the house or anything.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Yes, I am so grateful that that was my first thought, was that, I mean, I knew I was fine, but my first thought was somebody has gotten into a car accident outside my house. And I was really concerned that someone was hurt. But when I realized it was just my car, at first I was relieved that nobody else was hurt. And then I was like, oh my God, my car.
The car.
But yeah, but it could have been so much worse.
Yeah.
The house did not get damaged one bit, not a scratch. My car took it all, and the car's replaceable.
Yeah, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
A huge blessing. Mm.
Timing could have been a little bit better. I'm a little busy right now, so couldn't have this have happened in September? But yeah.
Praise God.
Well, and
Mhm.
we want to remember the wildfires in California, the people affected, and I haven't heard it on the news here, but there are some terrible fires in the Rockies, in northern Alberta, Jasper, about that area, and people and wildlife. We just want to remember that whole situation, and hopefully rain will come soon.
And
Yeah.
also, I want to mention, again, here in the United States has always been police brutality against the people of color. And
Yes.
again, it happened again. A woman, I don't know
Yeah.
the state, but Sonia Massey is her name, and she was called the police because she thought there was an intruder in her house, and somehow it just turned for the worse. And this guy was there, and I guess if I didn't watch the video because I can't watch those kind of things,
Mm.
they stay in my brain, and but I read comments and above the story, so I feel like I saw the video. Anyway, so I just want to make that known or mention it because we have to keep mentioning this because it seemed like it's just going to get worse if this person gets into power. It's just going to get worse. It's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
That this policeman can come into her house and shoot her and said that he was going to shoot her in the head and did that. And
Hmm.
she just had a pot of boiling water on there because she was cooking when they came in. How it went wrong, I don't know. This guy has been passed to 6 different police departments because he's not such a great police officer or a good person.
Yeah.
So just think of those people that get that and the stories that we don't hear. This one was a big one, so we hear about it. But there's stories that we don't hear in different communities that police brutality and nothing really happens to them. Nothing happens to them. So
Yeah.
it's like a murderer is walking free. Well, he's not free. They did arrest him. But that doesn't always happen. So
Yeah.
again, so this is for Sonia Massey. Beautiful
Yeah.
woman. And a
Yeah.
mother.
It's truly disgusting. And there is a former president slash current presidential candidate that says that if they get back in office, they will give police officers complete immunity,
Yes.
which is horrifying. I'm not shocked that he said that because nothing that he said surprises me anymore. But
That's
it's just
what's that's
disgusting.
what's scary. That's what's scary. So it's okay to kill people of color or anybody, for just she wasn't even doing anything. She was in her house cooking.
Yep. So many of our problems in the world today can be traced back to Christian nationalism,
Yes.
the patriarchy, and white supremacy.
And we're going to be hearing about that next week. It's a great message.
Yeah.
I want to also mention Sheriff McFadden and the jail uptown. They've got some serious problems with fentanyl getting in. They've
Ooh.
had several inmates to die. And I heard him speaking, and it's unbelievable. But what they're doing is soaking, people get mail, and they've been allowing them to get mail. But now they're soaking the envelopes in liquid fentanyl, and the envelopes and the letters soak that up. So then they just let the mail, go through. You would think prisoners could get mail, and some of them are made to even look like they come from an attorney.
Oh.
And it's drugs with fentanyl.
Mm.
So that's a major problem to detect, and they're now having to route the mail to somewhere in Maryland before they can give it to the prisoners. Certain mail they're having to open up in front of them. So that is a bad situation, and I know he gets a lot of criticism for the jail, but I'm telling you, there's massive problems. And I just hope we remember him, and I know him personally, and he's trying to do a good job. He's a good person. So let's remember that situation and our inmates who were there.
Yes, ma'am.
Any others?
Ooh.
In the spirit of Wedgwood, we will have a moment of silence for you to use however you choose. If you believe in prayer, if you meditation, if you want to just self-reflect or lift the things we've said up to the universe for healing powers, whatever your beliefs are, please use this moment of silence. Amen. Our words of wisdom this morning come from Molly Fasseline, who is an author. One of her books is No Hard Feelings, and I think they're very poignant for what we're talking about this morning. Diversity is having a seat at the table. Inclusion is having a voice at that table. Belonging is being heard by the people at the table. And I think that says a lot, and that's what we're talking about this morning. And thank you, Nazim, for being here to share your personal story and experiences with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melba, and thank you to the Wedgwood community for really giving me this opportunity to speak to you all about my experience, my personal sort of journey in advocacy for the Palestinian rights cause. But first of all, Assalamu alaikum, which is peace be upon you all, Muslim American, and just wanted to extend that greeting to you all as well.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. First of all, I just want to make it clear that I am not Palestinian. My family heritage is from Bangladesh. My dad came here in the late 30s when it was part of the British colonial empire. My mom came here when it was part of East Pakistan. And when I was born there, I was born to American parents. And so I was a born citizen of the US. So it's an interesting perspective about nationalism and the changing nationalities, even though you come from the very one specific place, right? And that sort of translates to how I sort of connect with the Palestinian issue, is that these are people who are tied to a land, and regardless of what sort of nationality that you want to put on them, whether they're Palestinian, whether they're Israeli, it's about their individual rights and ensuring that their rights are being respected, right? So my journey into advocating for Palestinians really started when I became aware of the issue in the first Gulf War, when Saddam Hussein was launching rockets into Tel Aviv and Haifa, and that's when I sort of understood that there was a conflict going on there that is being used by others in the region. And I was in middle school at that time, but throughout my high school years, I also followed the Oslo Accords. I was a big proponent, a supporter of those initiatives. And then, with the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin and subsequent expansion of settlements, I became a little bit more disillusioned in that process, right? And in subsequent to 9/11, Ariel Sharon's real sort of military operations in the Jenin refugee camps was really the point where I would say was a turning point in my sort of activism on this issue. It really radicalized me, I think, to a point where I did not see where a two-state solution could be sort of achieved by the way things were happening with the growth of the settlements, with the militarization of the occupied territories, and it being divided up. And so, that was really the start of my advocacy for the issue. I was at Rutgers University at that time. I attended a number of events, pro-Palestinian events. I believe there was some presentation on the BDS campaign that came to Rutgers University. I attended those events as well. This was in the mid-2000s. And but at the same time, I was also very involved in the Democratic Party. I volunteered for the Obama campaign to get out the votes. I donated to his campaign as well. This was in 2008, and then in the meantime, I sort of got sidetracked and started my career in public relations marketing. But I always kept an eye on the issue. In 2015, I think I really became engaged in the political process because of the candidacy of Senator Bernie Sanders, and primarily because he was a early opponent of the Iraq War, and it just so happened he was a Jewish candidate, and if he had won the nomination and then the election, he would have been the first Jewish president of the United States, and on the value issues, we were very much aligned on Palestine as well. And so once Trump won in 2016, that's when I really joined the Democratic Party in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, and really became active within the party itself. I do have a small presentation I would like to just walk through, give you a little brief perspective of where I'm coming from and why I believe like the Democratic Party is the vehicle through which we should which provides the best opportunity to advocate for the Palestinian cause. So Melba, if you could give me presentation ability, I think you may have to make me co-host.
Right. Can someone make him co-host?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I can do that.
Ryan will do that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, wait, no, I can't. I think Melba, you sign on first. If you could click the top right-hand corner of his screen, and it should give you a drop down that says.
Okay.
It should
Yeah,
say-
I can do it. Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. So it's going to be a very short presentation. I'm going to do a quick run through of this. Let me just share screen. Oh, okay, there we go. And let me know if you can see this right now.
Yes.
Okay, so this is basically a quick look into how I sort of became involved in the Democratic Party. I'm currently Director of Internal Communications of the Progressive Caucus in the party. I'm also the Secretary of the AAPI NCDP Caucus, which is the Asian American Pacific Islander Caucus in the party. I've been appointed to a statewide committee that overlooks the creation of new affiliated organizations. I was appointed by the chair of the party. I'm currently on the state executive committee. That's the committee that elects new state level officials of the party. And I've also been on a number of other committees as well as I'm an active member of my local precinct. So my journey really started in 2017 after Trump got elected. I've been a lifelong Democrat ever since I registered to vote. I've been a registered Democrat in New Jersey and continued that when I moved to North Carolina in 2013. So in 2017, I first attended my first precinct meeting at the local level. I felt I had to get involved in the political process because of the dangers that Trump represented. And, I did some volunteer work in 2017 in a number of local elections. And then in 2018, I ran to become a delegate at the county convention in Mecklenburg County. I also attended the county convention, the district convention, and the state convention that year. In addition to that, I started writing resolutions on issues that I was really passionate about. These issues included Medicare for all, ending, legalizing weed because of its use to criminalize, Black and brown communities, and a number of other issues as well. That very year, I also was elected onto District 12, which is the district I'm in, representative onto the Resolutions and Platforms Committee as well. And in 2019, I started to sort of push resolutions within the party on the Israel-Palestine issue. And the topic I really chose was bringing focus to a anti-BDS or anti-boycott law that was passed in North Carolina in 2017, and really try to link the issue of Palestine and our fundamental First Amendment rights here in America, and how these anti-BDS laws were really an attack on our First Amendment rights to benefit a foreign country. And I ran into a lot of opposition within the party because a lot of people were not aware. People were, uninformed on this issue, and anything related to Palestine was considered very toxic to touch. And so people were typically not very interested in touching this issue. They would table the issue, table the resolutions. And so I faced that sort of resistance within the party when I first started pushing for this issue. And typically, even just the mere mention of this issue, the resolution itself would be described as being anti-Semitic or promoting anti-Semitism. And so that was something that, party, activists or people who are really involved in the party did not want to touch. But that same year, I also started, volunteering for the Bernie Sanders campaign again, because he announced his run for presidency for the 2020 election. And that year, I was also elected to the state executive committee as well. In 2020, I continued on the issue, proposed resolutions, pushing on this issue on the Palestinian rights. But this time, one of the things I really pushed for was Representative Betty McCollum had a resolution calling to condition military aid, because there was evidence coming out that the Israeli military was really abusing Palestinian children in the West Bank. And her resolution was really calling to make sure that, American aid and weapons were not being used to abuse Palestinian children. But because this was the year of COVID, this was the first time we had a virtual convention for that year. Those resolutions just got approved because to save time at the convention, right? So we really didn't have much of a debate in that year. And so a number of those, another resolution I really called for was ensuring that, Israel did not block U.S. representatives from visiting the occupied territories to ensure that, our aid was not being used to abuse human rights. And this was in response to Israel denying a Representative Rashida Tlaib, from visiting her grandmother in the West Bank, right? And so both of those resolutions sort of passed without objection, without discussion, primarily because it was a virtual convention, and so it just went through. Then in 2021, I brought up the resolution on the anti-boycott law again, and this required a lot more organizing and advocacy within the party. I ran into a lot of resistance from party leadership who wanted to basically sink this resolution in committee. They pushed it into a separate subcommittee who did not have the information or the background of why it was so important to acknowledge this resolution. And after much work, I was able to basically get it near unanimously approved at the resolutions committee. And then when it went to the state executive committee meeting for 2021, I personally had to text over 500 people twice, created a website on the issue, created a Google Docs that was sent out to all of these people from my personal phone for over 2 weeks that I had to lobby everybody. And then eventually when this resolution came up for consideration at the state executive committee meeting, it was pulled out for debate. It was debated. And then finally it was voted and it received over 85% support within the party. So this was a huge win because that's the very same year Ben and Jerry's also said they would stop supporting their product being sold in the occupied territories. And Israel came out very strongly against the company, and it really raised the profile about the anti-BDS laws that were being pushed in North Carolina and across the U.S. In 2022, we continue to do so, push for issues, coordinated with other affiliate organizations in the party. We received support from 2 critical resolutions in the state convention. One was really focused on holding Israel accountable on the murder of Palestinian American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, who was assassinated by a sniper in the West Bank. And so that was also passed at at the state convention. So, as far as, why do I think, the Democratic Party is where we should really focus our efforts? Because there's only 2 parties that really control American foreign policy in this country. It's either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. I mean, I wish we had a system where, other parties had viability to be elected and, change the course of this country, like the Green Party or other parties. But that's not the reality. But of the 2, who are the most sympathetic is the Democratic base of the party, who are most sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. In recent demographics, youth voters, 18 to 39, they're the most pro-Palestinian demographic. They vote mostly Democratic, and they are the future of the party. Organizations that support Palestinian liberation are mostly aligned with, Democratic Party. That doesn't mean they support every single thing Democrats do, like Jewish Voice for Peace, If Not Now, Dream Defenders, Black Lives Matter, and others. They're very strongly pro-Palestine, right? So therefore, when it comes to the Democratic Party, we have allies within that coalition of outside groups and also inside the party as well. So North Carolina Party platform is something that I helped, focus on restoring full human rights of the Palestinian people. And so that is something that the North Carolina Party has approved. And so this is something that we can use to leverage advocacy within the party. And, pro-Palestinian Democrats are asking for help from the Palestinian American community and other allies to become more active so that when they sort of push for an issue, they actually have a support base within the Democratic Party to say, hey, these people are pushing for this issue, and therefore that's why I have to push for it, publicly. Right now, it's very difficult to come out pro-Palestine because the pro-Palestine community is not as organized as the opposition, right? And that's a key weakness within our movement. And so that's why we need to become more organized. And, there are allies within the Democratic Party that are like, they're not Palestinian, they're not Muslim, they're not Arabs, who are calling for, we need support if you want us to take a public stance on a particular issue, because they face a lot of backlash if they ever come out publicly in support of Palestine. And it's also a way to build network within the grassroots of the party as well. So some of the numbers that really point to where the party is in regards to Palestinians. This is a little bit old. I think there's a 2023 numbers that really came out that show these numbers have actually improved even further. In In 2022, Pew Research found that 53% of Democrats are in favor of Palestinians. That support rises to 62% among liberal Democrats who are more progressive and liberal, right? A 22 Gallup survey found that support for Israel versus Palestine is the statistical tie, 40% in support for Israelis, 38% in support for Palestinians. That number has actually flipped. In 2023, a Gallup survey came out and showed that, you know, more Democrats support Palestinians than they support Israel. In 2021, Critical Issues poll found that 70% of Democrats say their representatives support Israel too much. And I think that continues, given, you know, I think that number has simply gone up, given the support for this genocidal campaign that we've been seeing for the past 9-10 months, right? And one of our, oftentimes what happens is that when you say you're pro-Palestine, you're immediately conflated to be anti-Semitic, right? That you are anti-Jewish. When the reality is some of our strongest allies come from the Jewish community. And a 2021 survey by the Jewish Electoral Institute found that 34% of all Jewish Americans and 43% of those under the age of 40 believe Israel's treatment of Palestinians is similar to racism in the US. So, every time I have to emphasize that, being pro-Palestinian is not being anti-Jewish. There are hundreds of thousands of, very Orthodox Jewish communities, even in Israel and in the US, who support Palestinian rights. There's secular organizations like the Jewish Voice for Peace, and If Not Now, who are really pushing for the Palestinian human rights and Palestinian self-determination. And, one of the most, amazing things in this 2021 survey found that 20% support a one-state solution, which is equal rights for both Jews and Palestinians. And just recently, the Knesset voted 68-9 opposing the establishment of a separate Palestinian state. And, one of my goals is going forward is going to inform and wake up the Democratic Party that we do not have a partner for a two-state solution in the Israeli side, right? And so if that is the case, how do we proceed and make sure that Palestinian rights are being respected going forward? So again, I think I basically showed you, so this is basically in 2021, there was some press coverage of the anti-BDS resolution that was passed. This was in the post-millennial. In 2022, when we passed the resolution in support of human rights in Israel, Palestine, and the resolution for an independent investigation in the killing of Shireen Abu Akleh, we got enormous coverage, both in the Israeli press, pro-Israeli, primarily in the pro-Israeli press, and then also in the Carolina Journal here in North Carolina as well. How do you get involved in the North Carolina Democratic Party? You start at the precinct level. Just show up to your precinct level. There's a precinct meeting. There's one meeting a year. It's typically in February of every February. That's when the process starts. That's where you can write resolutions. You can submit your own resolutions, and meet your community. Meet people who are in your neighborhood, who are active in the Democratic Party. Build, connection, build community with these folks, right? I don't know, Melba, I think you were a precinct chair, or you've been somewhat involved in the Democratic Party, so you can attest to that how important it is to connect with your local Democratic Party members, because
it's great because you meet other people around you who are like-minded. And it's really great to become a part of that, especially if you're in a high red zone.
right.
You find those people who think like you do. So yeah, I was precinct chair for several years.
Right, exactly. And that's where the process starts. And if not the precinct, you can find other organizations like Wedgwood Community Church. I know we have a very active DSA, Democratic Socialists of America chapter in Charlotte as well. There's a Jewish Voice for Peace Charlotte pod that has been created recently as well. So if you're in the Jewish community, I highly encourage connecting with those folks in your community and building solidarity from the very grassroots up. I mean, that is essential.
You don't
And
have to be Jewish to be in Jewish Voices for Peace. We are involved in that as well, and we're also members of the Democratic Socialist Party.
yes, awesome. That's great. Thank you. And then, if you have the time, you can run for a delegate to the county convention. It's really just spending one Saturday, Saturday in community, in person, typically, getting to know other members of the Democratic Party. And it is essential, especially if you're pro-Palestine, because the opposition, I agree on a lot of things with folks who are pro-Israel when it comes to domestic issues. So they have been active in the party for a long time. They have a history. We do not. And so we also have to be present and have a voice and be active within the party to ensure that, folks who are in the neutral, who are uninformed, also get a different perspective when it comes to this one particular issue, right? We can work together on other issues, but we have to be in the room with a seat at the table to give a different perspective. And just initiating the debate, even if you lose, you just have to be persistent, and eventually people sort of come to see your way.
Can I clarify something real quick?
Yes, sure.
I am a member of the Democratic Socialist Party, not Wedgwood, but I am. But the Democratic Socialist Party used to meet at Wedgwood Church.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then, the next level is the district convention. That's also held once a year. It's a very small affair for Mecklenburg County. Maybe 50, 60 people show up. That's it. And then if you are more inclined to become more active, I would say run for state executive committee from your county level, right? And that election, that's a 2-year term. And it requires only attending maybe 2 meetings a year, typically in Raleigh or Greensboro or somewhere in person. But that's basically it. And that's how you sort of become engaged. The other way is if you want to find out, your voter registration, you can go to the state voter registration information lookup website. You can find out where your precinct location is, or you could just reach out to your county Democratic Party, reach out to the chair and find out how to get involved. And that's basically it. The other thing I just wanted to mention is that my activism has also included the formation of the Muslim caucus and the Arab caucus in the party, just to make sure that those voices have a space to sort of come together, organize, ensure that they speak with one voice within the party, and they have they have a seat at the table within the party as well. And that's basically it. I'm welcome to take any questions, any comments. Happy to answer.
Can you tell us a little more about the 2 caucuses that have just recently formed and had their first meeting?
Yeah. So after the party decided to approve the formation of a Jewish caucus last year, there was considerable interest in the Muslim community and the Arab community to form their own caucuses as well, so that they would be represented at the resolutions and platform committee, and also at the executive council of the state party. And so I was tasked with writing the bylaws for both of those caucuses, and do the outreach and work with a number of other folks who are really interested in getting this formed. And so on January 6th this year, we had our organizing meeting where we met in Charlotte, where the members voted to form the creation of the Muslim caucus. The Arab caucus wanted some extra time to sort of to do some outreach in the community to make sure that they included members of the Arab Christian community, took feedback from them as well. And so 2 weeks later, we met in Greensboro, I believe, and we also approved the formation of the Arab caucus as well. And then once they were formed, their application was submitted to the affiliate organization committee, which I'm a part of. They were approved, their bylaws were approved without any incident. And then finally, the caucuses were approved at by the SEC in the summer of this year. And so they're new, they're growing. And it's really exciting. You know, they have great leadership under the Arab caucus is being led by a young Arab, Syrian Arab American civil rights attorney. I came to know of her very recently last year, and she's been amazing leading the group. And the Muslim caucus is being led by Elias Muhammad. He's a native of Mecklenburg County, and they're working very hard to push the interests and concerns of the Muslim community within the Democratic Party as well.
Any
Nazim,
other
thank you.
questions?
Yeah, I wanted to comment. Nazim, I was also a precinct chair in Buncombe County, and I have a long-standing love-hate relationship with the Democratic Party, like many people do, but that would probably take the rest of the afternoon to go into that. I did have some questions about, well, three really. One is the new leadership in the Democratic Party more receptive to different points of views than the former leadership? And what role do weapons manufacturers and APEC have in North Carolina politics?
Ooh, so I think one of the things I will say is that, you know, both leaderships of the party have been very accommodating to concerns, right? They've been very neutral in their approach, but they are constrained by outside influence on how far they can speak to an issue or how much public support they can give on a particular issue, right? I know Chair Bobby Richardson received a lot of backlash after the 2022 resolutions were approved. I believe it was 2020. Yeah, 2022 resolutions were approved at the state convention. There were calls coming, you know, the coverage in the pro-Israeli media. There was considerable pressure to basically censor any resolutions on foreign policy within the party, and she refused to budge on that issue. Right? It was a question of a small d democracy within the party, is that we cannot censor issues, and so. The rumor is she even received death threats from particular corners of society because she did not, you know, budge on those issues. The new chair has been also very neutral when it comes to the issue. On this particular issue, she has basically tried to take a hands-off approach and let the process play out within the party based on the plan of organization of the party, right? And so it's really what you're dealing with is resistance and machinations further down in the party where attempts are sort of made to sort of bury these resolutions from coming forward. One of the ways they can do that is, at the county level, Mecklenburg County is now almost impossible to push any resolutions on Israel-Palestine, because what happens is any resolutions that are passed at the precinct level get sent to a county level resolutions committee. And members of that committee are controlled by the county chair. And what basically happens is folks are basically stacked in that resolutions committee at the county level who are mostly pro-Palestine and will just vote down any resolution on Israel-Palestine, or they will pass pro-Israel points and edit out any pro-Palestine issues. And so in order to sort of overcome that, over the years, I've had to work with folks at Buncombe County, actually, folks in Wake, folks in Durham to pass, and folks in Orange County as well, to push these resolutions across the state when you face resistance in one particular county or district. And so that's really been, listen, it's a struggle. It's always going to be a struggle to push on this issue. And so you have to find ways to go around the obstacles that are put in place by some members in the party. And because I've been so successful in doing that over the past years, was one of the reasons why there was such a push to form a Jewish caucus, which is really a very pro-Israel caucus in the party. And that caucus was formed specifically to organize against these resolutions that were coming up in the party. As far as AIPAC is concerned, listen, I know in this past state convention, the Jewish caucus, after the convention, sent out an email to their members, basically saying that they work with the Democratic Majority for Israel, which is, I believe it's a super PAC or an outside organization that's very pro-Israel, to sort of basically sink any resolutions at the state convention. They, this year we weren't even able to get to considering resolutions or the new platform that the party worked on this year. And in the email that the Jewish caucus basically sent out, they said they took credit for why we never got to take up that topic at the convention. The convention ran 4 hours over the scheduled time, and we had to elect DNC members and state electors and all of these very important issues. And so we never got to the resolutions process. And in fact, they were sort of whipping votes against a resolution that they supported in the resolutions committee. It was a resolution that was submitted by the state chair and first vice chair that sort of incorporated a number of points from other resolutions that were pushed through from the grassroots level. The Arab caucus and the Muslim caucus representative voted with the Jewish caucus to support that resolution at the resolutions committee. But when it came to the state convention, the Jewish caucus in their email basically stated they were working against the very resolution that they voted for in committee. And so it's difficult. That's how it works. That's politics. You have to deal with what you're presented with. And so AIPAC is involved. A number of the Democratic members in Congress took hundreds of thousands of dollars last time around. I know as a member of the Progressive Caucus, we rescinded our endorsement of Valerie Foushee when we found out she took hundreds of thousands of dollars from AIPAC. That created a firestorm um, in 2022, I believe. And yeah, I mean, that's something we have to deal with. I mean, people are very afraid to speak up because of the fear of AIPAC coming in and spending so much money against an opponent.
Yes.
And so it's very difficult to do that. You know, I've had conversations with, even at the state level candidates at the NC General Assembly, who are afraid to speak up on an issue because of what happened to Jamal Bowman this year. AIPAC spent almost, I think, $20 million against him. And so people are afraid to speak up. But, you know, I think, you know, what happened with Joe Biden and the constant grassroots activism that basically made his candidacy inviable coming election day, I think, you know, we have to keep that energy up, not just at the presidential level, but at, you know, congressional candidates level and even at the state level. The only problem is that, you know, Israel-Palestine is not a top 10 issue for voters, right? You know, economics is the number one issue. You know, climate is a much bigger issue for the youth. The struggle for pro-Palestine advocacy is, how do you connect the Palestine issue to intersect with these other issues and make it resonate with voters, right? I think the genocide that a number of people have been witnessing for the last 10 months, I think it may have changed that issue, but it remains to be seen. So, but thank you for the question.
And thank you so very much for being here. We can continue the discussion if anybody has any other questions. But Ashanti will bless us with a musical rendition.
Yes, thank you so much, Nazim, for all your work and all the work that you've done over the years. We appreciate you working so hard for the better of this country. I'd like to read something before I do my rendition, and it is connected to what we're dealing with today in our country. When things go wrong in your life, it's easy to lose hope, especially when the battle you are fighting seems so unfair. Even people who seem invincible in the beginning might later be overwhelmed by a spirit of helplessness and hopelessness. But I want to tell you, through this song, God is with you, is with us, this country, and He's in control of all the circumstances. Trust in Him, and He will grant us our victory, even when it seems like it's hopeless.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ashanti.
You're welcome.
For our closing words, I want to go back to our words of wisdom. Diversity is having a seat at the table. Inclusion is having a voice at the table. Belonging is being heard. And I know that our goal at Wedgwood is not just diversity or inclusion, but belonging, so that we hear all voices. And may we continue in our own personal lives to hear those voices. And as a community at Wedgwood, may we always strive to hear those voices. May it be so.
May it be so. We extinguish this flame, but we keep the light in our hearts with the message of love and justice, and taking it outside of these walls into the world in which we live in until we see each other again. Amen, Ashe, and may it be so. Now go in peace.